Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to a new video about StarCraft II Heart of the Swarm. Today I'm gonna show you a game that I have played recently. I believe I played this one, I think it's either 2 or 3 days ago. At the very least, it's very recently, and it's a game where I decide to go for a Gasless opener in Zerg vs Zerg. Spoiler alert, I am going to in the very end win this one, but I think it's a pretty good example game on how to hold all-ins with the Gasless build, just because of the fact that, you know, even though it's very strong and even though it's very good, it can be quite tricky to hold it. Now, I'm by no means going to play this game perfect. I make a couple of pretty sloppy slip-ups in this game. Sloppy slip-ups, there's a tongue twister right there. But I'm gonna make a couple of pretty silly mistakes in this game. Now I was watching the replay again. However, it is a pretty good example game on how to hold all-ins with the Gasless opener, specifically because I had quite a lot of people asking about it, especially when it comes to like Zergling Baneling all-ins, and that's exactly what my opponent is going to be doing. I'm going to scout this Zergling Bane all-in pretty much the latest point that you can, and I just barely managed to hold on. Now the Gasless opener, I would advise it to anyone who is pretty comfortable with Zerg already in ZVZ. It is one of these builds that is extremely strong, but if you make one little mistake, you kind of just lose. So it's one of these kind of builds where you just sort of are not allowed to make mistakes. And you know, you're not allowed to make mistakes when it comes to building placement, queen timing, spinecrawler timings, and all that kind of stuff, because else you can just sort of lose. So I'm going to open up with a hatchery first right now. Looks like we had a little bit of a pause in that game, but here we go. Gotta go for a hatchery first at 16 supply. Considering it as a 4-player map, it is pretty reasonable thing to do. You don't really need to worry about too much of anything on a 4-player map. Sometimes you do see early pools, but honestly, if you're gonna open up with a hatchery first, do it on the biggest map in the map pool. That isn't called like Tal'Darim or whatever that terrible map is called. So this map is pretty good. 4-player map, very small chance of getting cheesed early on. So here we go. I'm gonna go hatch into a spawning pool. And I am not going to get the gases until about 5 to 5.5 minutes into the game. Maybe even a little bit later if I'm slacking in this one. I don't really recall that exactly. So right now my second overlord scouted his first overlord. I'm not currently responding to it yet. There we go. I'm going to re-rally my overlords across the map because my overlord in the top right corner has absolutely no business over there. And I'm just going to create a little bit of a pathway with my overlords between our two bases. So I can see his units come in and he can see my units come in most of the time. As you can see in the production tab, things are pretty damn even. I'm a little tiny bit ahead, I assume, but it's really nothing major whatsoever. So once this spawning pool finishes, I am gonna open up with double queens right away. And the reason for that is because when you open up Gasless as a Zerg player, you really need your 4 queens out as soon as possible. The queens are actually extremely good to hold on early aggression, but also to make sure that if your opponent switches to Mutalisks, that your queens can actually hold on to your third. Now that sounds a little bit fake maybe, but most of the time what happens, if you open up Gasless, you're gonna go for Roaches, right? Now the one thing that can catch Roaches off guard are going to be Mutalisks. Most of the time, the only way you can win with Roach, Hydra, Infestor versus Mutalisk is if you have a third base up in mining, and the third base is absolutely crucial in that story. Now the queens are usually just barely enough, with the transfuse on the 2 queens that have been saving up energy all game, are just barely enough to actually hold that third base and get that up in mining and actually get it defended. So most of the time, opening up 4 queens when opening up Gasless is pretty much completely necessary. Some players, I have even seen some pro players go for 5 to 6 queens, which I honestly don't really like that much, but if you want to feel super safe, also take first the Zergling all-ins and that, it is definitely something you can do. Now, this is where I make a pretty silly mistake. I'm gonna lose a couple of drones right now to a couple of Zerglings that he sent to my natural, and it's just pretty poorly played. I'm trying to micro my ass off right now, but it's really not going to work. Already lost 1 worker, and I believe I end up losing like 3 workers in total with this little push. Or maybe it's 2 workers right there, but still, completely unnecessary, really something I should have had let happen, but in the end it doesn't really matter. So right now I made a couple of Zerglings, and I'm going to run those across the map. Pretty normal timed Zerglings right there, and as you can see, right now I don't know about my opponent's all-in yet. I'm completely unaware of this, and I'm trying to figure out what my opponent's up to. Now these Zerglings are gonna scout exactly what's gonna happen. But as you might have noticed, everything I've done is pretty delayed. My gas geysers are late, don't have a wall off, I don't really have anything. And right now, I'm like, snap. His Zergling speed is already done, that is pretty early on. And he is likely gonna go for a whole lot more. So, right now I instantly need to respawn. That is exactly what I do and what you want to do as well when you play versus this sort of a build. You instantly want to make a wall off at the front of your natural. you want to make sure that there's really only one position right here. The queens are actually on hold position right now. I'm trying to make sure there's nothing that can happen. And as you can see, as long as these Zerglings are kind of stuck in this little area and you have queens ready to transfuse, you cannot really, you usually can buy enough time to hold this in the very end. So what I'm gonna do is try and get another wall off right now because he's target firing down that Evo chamber, so I actually got in a second wall. I'm gonna start my lair as well, but I'm not really going to try and hold this with anything like Zerglings. I might make a couple pretty soon, but that is not really the thing that's gonna help me out. And as you can see, the spine crawler finished right there. Don't really have energy anymore on that queen, so I somehow, some way need to make sure I get around it, but looks like I just barely managed to hold on to the very first wave of all-ins right there. And the absolute crucial part is that you throw up that wall instantly. Usually you want to get 2 evolution chambers, which you're gonna use for upgrades if you manage to get to that part of the game, 1 Roachborn, and 1 spine crawler as well. So I'm swapping out queens right now, putting the high HP one in the front, as well as the one that had a lot of energy still on there in the back, so it can actually get some transfuse done. And I'm just trying to get whatever I can right now. He is gonna walk in once more and see what he can get done with a couple of banelings. Going to be pretty close. I need to make sure that I don't lose all my drones right now. Once more, gonna try and set up my queen wall right there, but it does look like my roaches are out right now in time, and I should be able to hold pretty much everything with just these roaches. Now he is gonna get a little bit lucky, but I made already a spine crawler in the main base in case he would get a run by into my natural and into my main base, and it ends up being pretty much a solid defense right now without really too many losses. If you take a look at the worker kill tab, he managed to kill 3 workers in this game in total, but it is still going to be 36 harvesters for me versus 22 for my opponent. So as long as I just sit at home right now, wait for my upgrades to finish up, I should have a pretty easy time winning this game. So just in case, I am gonna get a couple more static defense things up, just for the fact that I know I'm 100% ahead right now, so I don't really need to worry about the extra 150 minerals spent on a spine crawler, including the drone. And I'm just gonna keep my upgrades going right now. Gonna make sure I finish up these +1/+1 ranged and melee, or ranged and armor upgrades, as well as roach speed. And at that point, I can really start moving out. So normally you would be looking into a 3rd base. I'm not really going to bother with that right now because I know for a fact there's like a 90% chance I should be able to finish off my opponent as soon as all these upgrades finish. So what I'm gonna do is actually move out as soon as I got roach speed, which is in a little bit, and then I'm gonna try and kill my opponent. So I'm getting a 3rd base, don't really plan on mining from it, I'm mostly just getting it just in case he somehow, some way manages to hold on, if he all of a sudden like boosts out like 20 Mulelisk or something crazy like that. But in general, it is extremely hard to lose in these sort of situations. So right now, I'm gonna move across the map with my roaches, gonna use my roaches that just spawned. I should be using those defensively at the very least, because he probably has some Zerglings ready to run by. But I still got the 1 spine in my main, and Gil still got the 1 spine in my net as well, and I should be able to just simply overrun my opponent right now. The spine crawlers in the main and in the natural and in the middle row lines are really just there to try and distract my opponent for as long as possible, trying to create little wall-offs right there to make sure that Banelings cannot just walk in there, having my queens on hold position, and making a little bit of a mistake actually with my roaches that were meant to kill him. They're gonna come in a little bit later, but it really should not matter, as I managed to hold most of that aggression right now. I managed to keep that income advantage for 40 versus 26 harvesters, and these roaches are going to town. They have +1/+1, they have a really, they have roach speed and all that, and it should be a pretty easy cleanup from here. So I want to thank you guys all for watching. Hopefully this helped you out if you have any issues defending Zergling and Baneling all-ins when you're playing a Gasless opener. And other than that, I hope this video taught you something, and yeah, I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day, do not forget to smile, and I will see you in the next video. Hello everyone, my name is Loko and welcome to a new replay analysis. Today we're gonna take a look at the Zerg